Now in this lesson we're going to learn some of the basics of drawing using Flash. I'm going to start by creating a new file. So I'll go up to File, New, and I'm going to choose the ActionScript 3.0 file type. There are a number of options here which we will get into at a later date, but typically we would either choose ActionScript 3 if we're planning to script using ActionScript 3, and if we're going to use the older scripting language, which is 2, we would choose 2. But I'm going to use 3 for this. So ActionScript 3, and click OK. So that generates a brand new file, and right now it's just called Untitled 2. Probably as a best practice, it's very good to save your file immediately and then just save it as you're working. So I'll save it immediately, which number one will establish a name for it and also a place on my hard drive for it to reside. So let me go File, Save As, and that's going to my folder that I've established for these, and I'll just call this Drawing 101, and make sure my format is set to Flash CS5 document and click Save, and that will make an FLA file. Okay, so now I can see my file name up here in the tabs. Now again, if I want to adjust anything with my movie, I can click on the stage, click on my properties, and change the size or the frame rate or the background color. I'll change the background color. I'll just go with a yellow. Maybe I'll change the frame size too. So let me go to Edit under Size. And let's just make this, let's say 500 by 400. Click OK. And there we go. And I will collapse my Properties menu. Now I want to be able to see the whole stage and not have to scroll around to see it all. So up here, I will click down and go Fit in Window. And again, even if I resize the display, all the contents on my stage will be resized so that I can see the whole stage at any time. So I'm going to expand it out here. And let's look at some of the drawing enablers, if you will, such as rulers and grids and guides. Now those are all under the View pull-down menu. And if I choose rulers, I will see the rulers, and they are currently in pixels, and I can see that I'm 500 pixels by 400 pixels. Now if I want to draw a guide, which is very useful, I literally have to click inside of the ruler and just drag. And you can see here that I'm putting a guide at the 50 pixel mark. On my Y coordinate, X is across, Y is down, and of course ultimately in 3D, Z is depth. Okay, so I'll grab a vertical guide as well and also position that at the 50 pixel mark. So these guides now can help me align certain things. Now if I go up to View again and go down to the Guides pull-down menu, I can lock them. And now I cannot grab them. If they're unlocked, I can simply go and grab them with my selection tool and move them. Or if I want to delete them altogether, I just drag them back to the ruler. So let me unlock those. You can see the keyboard command too. On the Mac it's Command Option semicolon. On the PC it would be Control Alt semicolon. And it's always displayed here in the menu, which is a nice helper. So I'll unlock those. And as you can see, the icon changes when I go over it, and I can reposition it or delete it altogether by dragging it off the stage, as you can see there. Now another useful feature are the grids. So if I go up to View, you can see there's a grid menu. Show Grid. Okay, so right now I believe they're in 10 pixel increments. So each grid is 10 by 10 pixels. Now let me go back up to View again to Grid and go Edit Grid. Okay, so we get this dialog box, and there's a few things I can do in here. Number one, I can show and hide the grid. If I had any objects on the stage, the grid would cover it. Otherwise, it sits behind. I'm going to leave it unchecked so my grid is behind my objects. But snap to grid could be quite useful too. If I turn that on, things will snap to the grid. And you can see here are my grid sizes in pixels. So if I wanted it to be, say, 100 pixels by 100 pixels, I'll just change that there, and click OK. And you can see now my grid is broken into 100 pixel increments. I'm actually going to bring that back to 10. So if I go back to View, Grid, Edit Grid, I'll just change that back to 10 by 10. And you saw it changing live as I was making the changes here. And snap accuracy. Normal, I would say just leave it on normal. But if you for some reason need to adjust the accuracy, this is where you would do it. And if I want this to be my default, every time I open a file, I can click Save Default. And if I don't want it to be default, I can simply click OK. And it's sort of a one-time application. So there is my grid, 10 pixels over by 10 pixels down.